Star Wars Battlefront, one of the most beloved franchise in Star Wars gaming history, alongside those like The Force Unleashed, LEGO Star Wars, and Republic Commando. Battlefront started in 2004 and 20 years later came the latest installment, the Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection. Combining the first two games in the series and bringing them to PC and modern consoles like the PS5 and Nintendo Switch, it must have been a huge nostalgia-driven success.
Right?
Leave me alone!
Akira!
Oh boy, I've got a bad feeling about this. Well, as of this upload, today marks 2 years since the launch of the Battlefront Classic Collection, and instead of being a grand slam for Star Wars gaming, it ended up more like a flop-tastic disaster that arguably tainted the Battlefront name. But what exactly happened on launch day, and what state is the game in 2 years later? Join me, exalted ones, and let's look back at the past 2 years of the Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection. But buckle up, because first, in the words of YouTuber Flandrew, let's set the scene. The first Star Wars Battlefront gave fans a way to relive countless iconic battles from the Star Wars movies. Developed by Pandemic Studios, Battlefront brought a mix of large-scale, at least for the time, ground battles with some starfighter sky battles, as players dominated the battlefields in large part by capturing command posts. The first Battlefront game proved to be such a promising start that Pandemic returned for a sequel during the following year, 2005. Battlefront 2 was released as a tie-in game to the Revenge of the Sith movie, with a number of characters and planets as featured in the last installment of the prequel trilogy. Battlefront 2 brought over a plethora of improvements, such as space battles, playable heroes, and on top of that, heroes vs villains where fans can pit Jedi vs Sith, scoundrels vs bounty hunters in epic battles in Mos Eisley. The game was yet another success, further building the Battlefront series into an iconic Star Wars franchise. And so a Battlefront 3 was released 1 to 3 years later, right?
No.
Battlefront 3 was not only going to debut a new story featuring 2 Force-sensitive clone troopers, but also the ambitious ground-to-space transitions, something that, needless to say, was absent in the previous entries. There were some mixed reports on this part, but overall the game was cancelled last minute in 2008 after being supposedly content complete, but got stopped by various glitches and performance issues. In fact, aspects of Battlefront 3 would be recycled in the 2 Battlefront spin-off games, Rogue Squadron and Elite Squadron, exclusives for the Nintendo DS and Sony PSP. This is where Battlefront 3's ground-to-space combat transitions would go to. Additionally, Battlefront 3 lives on through the Battlefront 3 Legacy mod, a PC mod for the classic Battlefront 2. And around holiday 2024, an earlier build of Battlefront 3's Wii port was leaked and made available to play through the Dolphin emulator. Fast forward to 2015, and by then, Disney had already bought Lucasfilm, Electronic Arts got an exclusive deal outside of LEGO Star Wars, and EA-owned DICE Studios brought out the Star Wars Battlefront reboot. Now this should have brought a successful revival of the Battlefront franchise,
except it wasn't.
Battlefront 2015 was criticized at launch for a disappointing lack of content that fans loved the classic Battlefront games for, as well as lacking a story-driven campaign and only being stuck in the original trilogy era. But like Pandemic before them, DICE and EA launched Battlefront 2 in 2017, bringing both original and prequel trilogy content and improved gameplay, etc. It was only inevitable that disaster would strike back. Microtransactions, loot boxes, pay-to-win garbage, the disasters just keep on piling up and up. And the negative PR got so bad that during the next few years, EA and DICE were forced to remove the loot boxes and pay-to-win game mechanics, rehaul the game, and add content drop after content drop after content drop to redeem Battlefront 2 and make it a far cry from launch. So much so that fans have continued to demand a Battlefront 3 in the years since Battlefront 2's 2020 end-of-content support. And now we finally fast forward to early 2024 with the Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection. The first trailer to the Battlefront Classic Collection dropped on February 21, and man was it hype. The narration of the trailers were somewhat reminiscent of early 2000s era video game commercials.
Take the fight to the skies in epic space battles, featuring iconic battles throughout Star Wars history. Join Darth Vader's elite 501st Legion in the Rise of the Empire campaign.
Even playing the narration from the original Battlefront 2 story mode was a nice touch.
Tonight, the fall of the Jedi is at hand. Your simulation days are over, Trooper. This is a real battle.
While the classic Battlefront games were already on modern Xbox consoles via backwards compatibility, fans could finally play those titles on modern consoles 2 decades later, including online multiplayer. For those with the PlayStation 5, the Classic Collection would also bring Battlefront 2's DLC that was only available on the original Xbox, namely Kit Fisto and Asajj Ventress as playable heroes, as well as a few maps from the 2004 Battlefront. The Battlefront Classic Collection also brought in some more features such as enhanced visuals overall, Heroes vs Villains mode, where now most, if not all, ground maps have the Heroes vs Villains mode and not just Mos Eisley. And also that all the ports for the Battlefront Classic Collection, including the PC port, would be using the console menus from the original Battlefront games. As the next few weeks went by, the Battlefront Classic Collection looked like it was going to be a dream come true for longtime Battlefront fans. This is the soul that EA's Battlefront reboots should have had from the very beginning, not just shiny 8th gen console graphics. The March 14, 2024 launch day should have been a day of celebration for Star Wars fans. Instead, Aspyr Media and publisher Embracer Group pied the fans in the face. The Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection essentially became the Star Wars equivalent of the Grand Theft Auto, the Trilogy, the Definitive Edition. It's as if to say, we gotta apply modern gaming's broken, buggy launches to a couple of 20-year-old games. So how exactly did Aspyr and Embracer Group botch the launch of the Battlefront Classic Collection? I kid you not, there was a whole laundry list of performance issues and other problems that contributed to the disastrous launch of the Battlefront Classic Collection. These issues affected both games in the Classic Collection, but especially notable for the Classic Battlefront 2. First off, the in-game font is different in the Classic Collection compared to the original games. Pay close attention. Here's the font in the original Battlefront 1, and here they are in the Classic Collection. Same with the Classic Battlefront 2, and Battlefront 2 in the Classic Collection. But now you might be saying, oh, big deal, different fonts, it's a newer version of the game, so what? But the differences and problems with the Battlefront Classic Collection doesn't just stop there. There's some more errors on the Battlefront Classic Collection, such as for the original Star Wars Battlefront in the Classic Collection, how the sound effects in the loading screens are completely different from the original version. But seriously, how did Aspyr botch this up? Remember, a whole laundry list of problems for the Classic Collection, and boy do they pile up. Reports on some missing cutscenes from the Classic Battlefront 2 story campaign, launching with only 3 dedicated online multiplayer servers on PC, connection issues, and too many visual issues and glitches to discuss. But get this, early on, the Battlefront Classic Collection, at least on PC, took up a whopping 63 gigabytes of storage space, while both classic Battlefront games combined to roughly less than 10 gigabytes of storage space. Must have been all the 4K textures and AI upscaling and all, huh?
You don't say!
And to this day, the Battlefront Classic Collection's low scoring, mostly negative reviews remain. Alright, but what about updates? There must have been some updates that the devs made to fix the game since launch, right? And yes, there were. As you can see here, the first update for Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection was released on March 18, 2024, and I'm not going to go through all of the patch notes, but let's go read a little bit of it. Fixed the launch prompt to be present after timing out, and Fixed password locked games to no longer appear via the quick match options. Fixed the crash when entering the split screen menu in Battlefront 1. Fixed invert Y-axis option to be visible. Like, why wasn't that there to begin with? And there's so many other visuals, fixes, hero assaults, and so on and so forth. Now this was all just the first update. A multitude of fixes across all platforms were released by Aspyr and Embracer Group during the next few months. A total of 3 patches, in fact, with patch 3 releasing back in June 20, 2024. Now for the big question. Where was patch 4?
That's it?
What?
The show was cancelled after that.
All this time, I wanted to buy the Battlefront Classic Collection, but seeing how broken the game was at launch, I figured that I'd play the waiting game and pick the game up after most of the glitches and bugs would surely be fixed. But despite various fixes being implemented, the game still wasn't a complete turnaround. Some fixes were made, but new issues popped up every time, with no indication that any more patches would ever be released to give the Battlefront Classic Collection a comeback on the level of, dare I say it, games like Cyberpunk 2077 and No Man's Sky. On top of that, barely anyone plays the Classic Collection at all, though that may depend on the platform and region you're playing in. An easy alternative to buying the Battlefront Classic Collection is to simply buy both classic Battlefront games on PC via Steam or even GOG and downloading countless mods. Particularly on Battlefront 2 2005, mods like the Battlefront 3 Legacy mod and the Battlefront 2 Remaster mod help make these classic games look better and add content that were never in either games before. Heck, there's even a mod for the classic Battlefront 2 by Bad Al that not only brings full controller support on PC, but also brings back the glorious UI from the original Xbox and PS2 ports of the classic Battlefront 2, including the movie clips in the main menu. If only Battlefront 2 on PC launched like this back in 2005 instead of having different looking menus. Let me give you a warning though, Bad Al's mod may not be fully compatible with other Battlefront 2 mods, especially when graphics filters and overhauls may be present. Be prepared to possibly keep on uninstalling and reinstalling the game whenever you may want to switch back and forth between Bad Al's mod and other Battlefront 2 mods. But all the same, feel free to test things out for yourself. And that is my retrospective of the Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection 2 years after launch, including some of the history of past Star Wars Battlefront games. Now I turn it over to you. What do you think of the Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection? Have you bought the game before? And if so, what was your experience like? And if you haven't bought the game yet, do you ever see yourself buying it? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you for watching. The Star Wars element here is signing out. The Force will be with you, always.